Hi, Jesus Herrera here. We're gonna review Rick and Morty Season 4, Episode 6, Never Rick and Morty, because
I'm sipping 40s and Rick and Morty's on. Slow serving got me on the verge of murder. So catch me at your mom's house with a Tom Segura.
on the one hand, I like the Paul Giamatti and Snowpiercer references this episode had. On the other hand, I thought it got way too meta. I was on Morty's side when he was saying, I don't know, I think we're getting too meta here, Rick. The meta jokes just stopped being funny after a while. Like, the peak funny was whenever that clam was retelling the story and she actually used script terminology. But then they just run that joke into the ground. I will say they had so many callbacks to characters that was really nice. So you get to see some old favorites in there. Morty Jr. always had, in my opinion, one of the funniest lines in the Rick and Morty series, which is like, he's asking his son, Morty Jr., like, why don't you just dance? Morty Jr.'s like, I like to dance on the graves of my enemies. So it's great seeing him there. I like the callbacks to Moon Men, Get Swifty, and Tiny Rick during the musical train cart sequence. I like the callbacks to Blitz and Chits and to Aberdolf Linkler, who was a fan favorite, but for me, like, I could give or take him. He was like, it was both good and bad, kind of like this episode. But all these references and inside jokes make the show highly inaccessible to any new audience members, but if you've ever seen Community, you know Dan Harmon doesn't really care about including new people into the episodes. You gotta kind of just be aware of all the little references and jokes that he's making throughout the series. And it's all these callbacks in this episode were just this massive build-up to the best callback, which is the evil Morty war fight with Snuffles, Phoenix Person, Tammy, all the Gazorpazorps, all the Meeseeks, all the Ricks from the Citadel just fighting behind Morty next to Emperor Palpatine poopy butthole. This whole episode is rather confusing. You gotta really think about it for it to make any sense, and even then there's like some continuity missing whenever Rick magically teleports to where the police officers are. But then I guess that gets explained because the police officer blew up a continuity tank, so it makes sense that there's no sense of how he got there. As a Catholic, some of you might be surprised to hear this, but I actually really liked that Jesus Christ saves the day ending. Jesus Christ saves the day and the VeggieTales show up, and I grew up on the VeggieTales, so there was a bit of nostalgia there, and a lot of people don't talk about it, but that dinosaur is a reference to Denver the Last Dinosaur, and I believe the lamb might be Lamb Chop. Although I'm not 100% sure. They might just make their own creatures like how Rick and Morty typically does. I like the rant that Grandpa Rick drunkenly harasses Morty at the end by. Because if you rewatch the episode, there's like a really deep symbolism with Christianity. The last thing Jesus Christ says at the end of the episode is, I reveal omens, blood beyond sight. And in Christianity, blood represents that Jesus' sacrifice was not made in vain. That's why we Catholics drink the blood of Christ on Sundays, or at least we used to before the whole Corona thing hit. And it comes out of a cup if you're not Catholic. There's also another Bible passage that says, my cup runneth over, which basically means that I don't need anything else to feel fulfilled. And in the context of this episode, it means that Jesus does not need to consume anything because he has everything, and this gets ultimately metaphorically represented through the blood filling the whole train universe. So hilariously, after Jesus Christ engages in the ultimate act of anti-consumerism, Rick Sanchez is like, we gotta consume more, Morty. We gotta buy that space train. so that joke is subtly very hilarious.
2 retros ago.
Sure is.
You were supposed to beat me to death blows ago. We can go toe to toe. We can go toe to toe.
Excellent.
Years back when you thought I might have mellowed. Grab the mic and rap, you fuck you, don't get I yellowed.
Check this file.
My mind is the 9, so the brain will shoot you. When I write, it's like Stephen Strange looking in the future. This is Shorty on, you got a corgi on. I'm sipping 40s and Rick and Morty's on.
Excellent.
Slow serving got me on the verge of murder. So catch me at your mom's house with a Tom Segura.
It's a good show.